If you purchased TSLY at inception, if you purchased it at the highest price achieved before the first dividend distribution occurs in January 2023, will you currently be underwater? How much loss have you incurred if you invested in TSLY at inception? Hello, this is MrChris. Today I will show you the analysis I did to determine the total return for someone who invested and purchased TSLY at the highest. This video is inspired by a comment in one of my recent videos. Here is a snapshot of the comment. With TSLY, I purchased 1,000 shares after the reverse split in February 2024, so I did not experience the drop in value of TSLY. Currently, my total return for TSLY is around $6,000. But how about those who purchased TSLY before February 2024? If you purchased TSLY at inception and you did not sell TSLY, what will be your current total return? I will try to provide you with an insight regarding the total return for TSLY, specifically to find out if you are underwater if you held onto TSLY. The reverse split is a 1-for-2 split. This means that if you purchased 1,000 shares before the reverse split occurred, you would have 500 shares after the split. Due to this forced reduction in the number of shares of TSLY, I can understand why it is easy to say that the purchase of TSLY before February 2024, or specifically the purchase of TSLY at inception, is a bad investment, and that someone who purchased TSLY at inception is currently underwater. I have two goals in this video. The first objective is to determine the total return for 1,000 shares purchased before the first dividend distribution in January 2023 to find out if someone who purchased TSLY at inception is currently underwater. For a second objective, I will determine the payback period for TSLY, assuming that its future performance continue using the average monthly dividend distribution in 2024. For the initial analysis, I will assume that we did not have any reinvestment. Here we go. Let us first establish our basis for the analysis. First, the number of shares purchased before January 2023 is 1,000 shares. The first dividend distribution for TSLY occurred in January 2023. To determine the original investment, I used the data from stackanalysis.com. Going to stackanalysis.com, we can actually search the historical price for TSLY under the History tab. Note that the data for the price of TSLY is already adjusted to the reverse split. Since the reverse split is a 1-for-2, the price before the reverse split is doubled. The highest price achieved by TSLY occurred on December 2, 2023 at $43.53. Again, note that this price of $43.53 is adjusted for the reverse split. The actual price is half of this, or about $21.76 or 77 cents. For a more consistent calculation, we will use the adjusted price. After the reverse split, the 1,000 shares we have was reduced to 500 shares. To get the amount of the initial investment, all we have to do is to multiply the current number of shares we own, which is 500 shares. We multiply 500 by the adjusted price of $43.53. So 500 shares multiplied by $43.53, and that is equal to $21,765. Now that we know the amount of our original investment, let us determine the current net asset value of our 500 shares of TSLY. Today, January 7, 2025, the closing price for TSLY is $13.76. Since we have 500 shares of TSLY, the current net asset value for these shares is $6,880. That is 500 multiplied by $13.76 is equal to $6,880. Okay, before we continue, let us summarize the basis for our analysis. First, we purchased 1,000 shares in December 2, 2022. Second, reverse split in February 2024 for a 1-for-2 split. So then the third assumption that we have, or the basis for our analysis, is that the current number of shares is 500. Fourth, the adjusted price is $43.53 for a total initial investment at inception of $21,765. And number 5 assumption is that the current net asset value of the 500 shares of TSLY is $6,880 as of January 7, 2025. And lastly, we did not reinvest the dividends that we received. So no reinvestment. We took the dividend and put it in a cash account. In this analysis, we will not consider the interest that you have earned by putting the money in the cash account. Now let us take a look at the monthly dividend distribution for TSLY starting January 2023. Let's go back to stackanalysis.com. The data for the monthly dividend distribution for TSLY is also adjusted for the stock split. This means that the dividend amount shown before the reverse split is multiplied by 2. Therefore, to get the total amount of dividend distributed for the month before the reverse split, all we have to do is to multiply the dividend by 500 shares. I transferred all of this data into a spreadsheet. Here's the spreadsheet showing all of the dividend received from January 2023 to December 2024. Okay, let's work on our first objective, and that is to determine the total return for TSLY. If we purchase 1,000 shares of TSLY at the highest price prior to the first dividend distribution in January 2023, basically buying 1,000 shares of TSLY at inception. Under the month column, we have all of the dividend distribution dates. Under the dividend column, we have the adjusted dividend amount per share. And under the number of shares, we have the current number of shares that we now have, and that is 500 shares. For each of the monthly dividend distribution, I multiplied it by 500 shares to come up with a total amount of dividend distribution for each of the month from January 2023 to December 2024. To get the total amount of dividend that we received from January 2023 to December 2024, all we have to do is to add all of the monthly dividend, and the total amount of dividend we received is $14,994.95. Again, the current net asset value for the 500 shares is $6,880. Therefore, the current total value of all the dividend we received and the 500 shares of TSLY that we have is equal to $6,880 plus $14,994.95, and this is equal to $21,874.95. Our total return then is equal to $21,874.95 minus our original investment of $21,765, and this is equal to $109.95. Now, total return can also be calculated as equal to total amount of dividend received plus capital gain or capital loss. Since the value of the Tesla stock we own dropped from $21,765 to $6,880, we actually have a capital loss, and that capital loss is equal to $14,885. Hence, our total return is equal to $14,994.95, and that is the total amount of dividend we received, minus our capital loss of $14,885, and again, this is equal to our total return of $109.95. The total return is positive. We actually made a profit, yay! But it is a puny profit. We made a profit though. So our conclusion in this initial analysis is that the notion that someone who purchased TSLY at inception will be underwater today is incorrect. It is not true. Specifically when TSLY was at $17 per share a week or two ago. In addition, with TSLY's current performance, we could still get more dividend from TSLY. Now let us move on to our second objective, and that is to determine the payback period. Let us answer the question when excuse me. Let us answer the question when we are going to get our money back. We had 2 years of owning TSLY, and we received a total of $14,994.95 worth of dividend. All we have to do to get our money back is to accumulate more dividend till we reach the total dividend received to equal our initial investment of $21,765. For this, we will use the average monthly dividend distribution for 2024. The average monthly dividend distribution for TSLY in 2024 is $451.72. I calculated this by adding all the dividend received in 2024 and then divided it by 13 since we received dividend 13 times in 2024. For this exercise, I will use $450 as the average dividend to expect from TSLY moving forward. So the amount that we still need to earn in order to fully recoup our original investment is equal to $21,765 minus $14,994.95, and that is equal to $6,770.05. To determine the number of months remaining in order for us to recoup our investment, it is then equal to $6,770.05 divided by 450, and this is equal to around 15 months. Now let us round this up to 16 months. This means that it would take 16 more months of receiving an average of $450 of dividend for the 500 shares of TSLY in order for us to recoup our investment. After we recoup our initial investment, any dividend from our 500 shares of TSLY will all be profit. Our total payback period for this 1,000 shares of TSLY purchased at inception is 3 years and 4 months, or just around April 2026. The analysis that we just completed is based on the current price of TSLY at $13.76. Note that the total return calculation is dependent on the current price of TSLY. So what will happen if the price of TSLY goes down or up some more? Here's the table that shows the total return for different current price of TSLY. Per this table, we break even around $13.50 per share. Below this price, and we start losing money until we receive more dividend. My conclusion for this initial analysis is that those who purchased TSLY at inception are currently not underwater. In fact, their total return is positive, but puny, very small. And from my perspective at this point in time, the investment is just breaking even. If the performance of TSLY stays at the 2024 level, averaging $450 monthly dividend, expect to recoup all of the initial investment around April or May 2026. And once you recoup the investment, all dividend you received will all be house money. Now let's pose the question differently. Say, is TSLY a good investment? I will say no. TSLY with its current performance has a payback of 14 months. In my opinion, any yield max or any other high dividend fund should have a payback of less than 2 years or 24 months, assuming that there is no reinvestment. Compare TSLY with Misty or Coney. Currently, based on the distributed dividends for Coney and or Misty, both have a payback period of less than 2 years. Note that my main objective is income, and that is the reason why I use the payback period as my main key performance indicator. Now, this means that your assumption is that there is no reinvestment. Now let us consider another scenario where we reinvest all received dividends. So what happens if we invested in TSLY at inception, but this time reinvested all of the dividend? Here's a table showing the result of the analysis with full reinvestment. The assumption here is that all received dividend were used to purchase new shares of TSLY. The purchase price for the new shares is assumed to be the price at closing at the day the dividends were paid. The data I used is from stackanalysis.com. This table shows that with full automatic reinvestment, we will now have 1,805 shares on December 27, 2024, and currently we will have about 1,958 shares before the next TSLY distribution. Note that with full reinvestment, you will currently not have any cash. Therefore, the total return is basically equal to the current net asset value minus the original investment. So for those whose objective is not income, I will say TSLY is a good investment. Assuming full automatic reinvestment of all received dividend, and with the current price of $13.76 per share, our 2-year total return is about 14%. One caveat: with full reinvestment, your total return depends heavily on the current price of TSLY. If Tesla's price collapses, taking the price of TSLY with it, you can still lose your original investment. This will occur if TSLY drops around $12 per share and we start losing. So let us summarize. If you purchased TSLY at inception and decided to not reinvest the dividends, then you are currently breaking even, and that your total payback period is about 40 months. And from a project management perspective, TSLY is not a good investment. However, if you purchased TSLY at inception and decided to reinvest all dividends, then you currently have a 2-year total return of about 14% at the current price of $13.76 per share. If the price of TSLY drops around $12 per share, then you are basically breaking even at this time. That's it. If you enjoyed this video or any video in my channel, please hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any question about investing in yield max funds or in trading the rules strategy, please write your questions or comments below and I will answer them the best I can. Thank you, and I will see you in my next video.